ATAX, and
They
then he
probably
was
tell their
at
friends to
the
come to Charleston,
boat rental.
right?
Okay.
You know, because you
Because
are.
they don't know. Okay.
You know his face, if you saw
Oh,
his
it's
face.
okay.
Park, I think you're,
Well, good, so you have
We're
somebody
live.
doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
we're 10:02.
How's
That's
Whit?
huge. He's good.
What is he doing these days?
He's gotten to Clemson.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Call to order. We'd like to acknowledge that the press and the public were duly notified of the meeting in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. We have a short agenda today. Thank you to the city administrators for setting this up on short notice, and it's kind of an ad hoc meeting, I guess, to review a few things in advance of our regularly scheduled meeting, which will be on May the 14th. The two old business items for today are as follows. We have the consideration of the fiscal year 26 budget for the state accommodations tax funds. And then the second thing we have is the consideration of the fiscal year 26 CVB budget for 30% of tourism-related expenses. So we'll go with the first item, consideration of the fiscal year 26 budget for state accommodations tax funds. And just to be clear, what we're doing today on these two items for the committee is that we will be, we vote essentially, and then that becomes a recommendation to the city council that coming from us, and then they can act upon that accordingly. So first item, the budget for the state accommodations tax funds. Open the floor up for discussion.
And this is including the money for the literary thing and?
No, this is not for the grants. We'll cover the grants in the May 14th meeting. This is strictly that we have reviewed and we are in agreement with the budget that was
So
put
we'll have a
forth.
chance to discuss those things, not just?
In the 14th, we
On
can,
the
yeah,
14th.
yeah, that's
Cool,
right.
thank
And
you.
we can discuss them, and as I understand it, we can vote up, down, partially fund.
Okay,
And or we
perfect.
can, ostensibly, we can also say we're not ready to vote, or we need more information, or whatever else. But this meeting does not involve those grants.
Great,
So
thank you.
I guess I would say that it only involves those grants in that the money, there's $75,000 in grant money in this fund to do some portion or of
Right.
those projects. So kind of as an umbrella, the amount is in there as a grant.
Good point, yeah, thank you.
But not the specific grants would be considered at a next meeting.
Great, thank you.
May I also add, if there is other information that you're going to need ahead of that meeting, like if in reviewing those applications prior to the 14th, if there is information that you need ahead of time, please reach out to us so that we can get that from the applicants, and we're not discussing what else we need at that meeting.
see.
We can
So-
go ahead and have that for you ahead of time. If there's any kind of clarification, we can ask them for that before the meeting.
So the hope would be to finalize it and have a recommendation
Yes, sir.
as of that meeting.
Yes,
On
sir.
the 14th,
All
yeah.
right. Is that clear to everybody? And if you need copies, I've got copies of all of the grant requests, so if those have gotten lost in your emails or whatever, I'm happy to.
And they're all on the
redistribute.
agenda packets on the meeting, on the website as well. You can pull
Yeah.
up on the agenda packets.
So point of clarification, for the grants, even though that's not what about today is, 75K is budgeted. How much was the total of all 3 or 4 applications?
95.
Okay. So if that's going to be increased, we would need to do that today.
Now, well, that's assuming we're going to pass those amounts.
Right.
That's
Well,
what they've asked for. It doesn't mean,
What I was hearing was that,
see, we've already raised it. It
Yeah,
was
we went from 50 to
50,000.
75.
okay.
And we
gotcha,
arbitrarily raised it
gotcha.
to
And they,
75.
And the
Okay.
workshop, and these are, again, it is a little bit of semantics, but that's the recommendation. So we could go back to, I think, Douglas and Nicole, correct me if I'm wrong, we could go back to council and say we would like to fully fund, in theory, all of these at the full amount, and then council could make the determination that whether they wanted to or not. I mean, there is that opportunity as well.
That's correct.
Okay. So we're not constrained by that, but it's more guidance. It's kind of back and forth guidance, which is interesting, but that's what it is. Okay? Now, the budget. Anybody have any, I know we've had a reasonable chance to review it. Are there any questions, concerns, comments that we have as a result of the review? It's within the packet that Nicole distributed this week this is the specific one to the city. Barb, anything from you? Rebecca? Margaret?
No.
Rod?
I have one question.
Okay. That's CVB, so that'll be the second agenda item.
Okay, great. I'll hold my question.
Chrissy?
No, I think they're straight.
Yeah, this is pages 2 through 5 of the packet.
Yeah.
And just for clarification, each page of the budget takes up 2 pages in your packet. So page 3 would be set to the side of page 2. That's kind of the columns work that way. So the comments on page 3 are associated with the line items in page 2, and the same for page 4 and 5.
Okay, yeah. So I think that if there's no further discussion, the only thing, and I know we've discussed this in a couple of meetings, is I do want to make sure that we continue to have a line of sight when the council is considering this, that of the potential impact of some of the macroeconomic conditions and how those might impact our revenue. And so I know that Chris from CVB is here, and we had a sidebar conversation about this. And I mean, I know there's no formulaic way to determine that, but I just think as a city, or is this committee making recommendations to the council, I want to make sure that we keep that in front of us, that we're not in a booming economic situation right now because of things that are happening outside of our control. But that having been said, I know that there's a lot of work that's gone into this. I think it was done rationally. And so I would make a motion to approve, a motion to vote to approve the budget as presented.
Second.
And just technically, it is a vote, it is a recommendation. You all are
Right.
voting to recommend approval.
Voting to recommend. Thank you, Douglas. We're voting to recommend the budget to the council.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Okay, the next item of business is the consideration of the fiscal year CVB budget for 30% of tourism-related expenses. Thank you to the CVB team who is assembled with us here today. It is obviously very involved. A lot of work's gone into this, and we understand. Hopefully, you're in a better place than you were a month ago when we went through that, and y'all are further down the line with your general budgeting process. But now that as of the last meeting, the committee members had not had a chance to review all the documents. So now that we've all had a chance to spend some time with it, because we distributed it on April the 9th, Douglas, I believe, or did we distribute the day of the meeting? Which was the 9th?
I think it was the 9th,
Yeah, so you guys have had it in your hands for a while now, and I just wanted to open the floor up for any conversation. We've got, obviously, as I mentioned, CVB members here in the room with us to answer any questions, any clarifications, things along those lines.
I have a question.
Okay.
Did-
Speaking to the microphone.
Thank you. The budget does not, or I must have overlooked it if it did, have a breakdown of travel and expenses. I don't know if you've already given that out of the entertainment, the travel, the expenses, and where they went and what they were,
I guess, in other words, the numbers we assume are baked into the numbers that you have into the budget. Or is that something y'all are able to provide? I mean, or is it something that you are asked to provide by others? Kind of what's your stance on that?
Same question for personnel, salaries. That doesn't seem to be unitemed either, so.
You want to go to the microphone, please? And make sure it's on.
Yep.
The travel, can you hear me?
Yep.
The travel information is accounted for in the trade show line items. You can see where they're traveling to. And as far as the level of detail, that's not something that we're not going to get that specific
Sure.
in this level of budget. We haven't booked our travel yet, and that's not something, we're not going to be that specific in this level of budget.
So the travel is, or the trade show thing is where you guys physically go to the trade shows. So that budget is for travel, entertainment, lodging, all of that.
Correct.
At a high level.
If you're looking for example, in our share of the trade show in Los Angeles, we're traveling to the American Society of Association Executives, and your share of that is $3,500. So that includes lodging and travel and trade show costs and giveaways and the cost of our staff to attend and everything.
Okay.
Do you have a mechanism, and I know it's hard because I had a company and it's hard to track marketing, but do you have way of feedback on what you're doing, what the expense is versus what comes in from that effort of expense? Do you have any type of feedback? So, and this works great, this does not work great.
Sure. Yes, ma'am. When we attend trade shows, we can get a sense of what kind of return we had from that show. If we had a good experience, if we had had any direct bookings, if we had great leads. There are shows that we return to, and there are shows that we don't return to. If we thought it was a good experience, if the partners that went with us thought it was a good experience, if they thought it was worth their time and their energy and their resources, and we go with the partners that we go with, we'll seek their feedback to say, was it worth your time and energy?
But you don't have numbers. You don't have, we spent $10,000 for this trade show. We received, for the trade show, we had, 30 bookings.
We do. We do. And we evaluate that internally, yes, ma'am. And what we bring back to you is, what we're bringing back is the best of what we're expecting for the next year. We don't bring back trade shows that we don't anticipate can perform well.
Or any type of marketing that doesn't meet your criteria of return on investment or whatever you want to call it. You have a way of discontinuing that.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. And then we try new things. Like, this committee had asked us to consider doing something in the short-term rental space. And so we dipped our toe in the VRBO space, and that turned out to be something really, really positive. And so we've put our foot in now, and perhaps our whole leg. So, we'll try things, and if they're fruitful, then we'll put some more effort into it. If it's not, then we'll pull back.
I mean, I think we've showed a significant decrease in print when it comes to the Isle of Palms based on the recommendation of this committee, so.
Is there something particular that you're looking at, or are you just talking generally?
I'm talking general at
Yeah.
this moment.
Is there something in the budget that you're concerned about, or?
In general, I'm always looking to cut expenses, especially expenses that non-productive expenses. And it's to me, and that's just to me, a little difficult to read some of these because sometimes things are couched into other things. But nothing really specific.
Could I ask a question? I'm just curious, of your entire budget, what percentage is Isle of Palms?
35
Of
of
your
revenue or of expense?
Both? I mean, we have 100%, your budget's 100%. What percentage is Isle of Palms? 10%, 5%?
Are you, Barbie, asking about all of the different jurisdictions?
Yeah,
So we
just-
we
yeah,
give
I mean,
X, like,
Because we can't nitpick everything that that you all do when, some of it doesn't affect us at all. And some of it,
Sure.
obviously, we care about the Isle of Palms being marketed, especially in the off-season.
Well, Isle of Palms is 4% of our overall budget. We have a $24 million budget, and Isle of Palms is 4% of that overall budget. Now, as it relates to our accommodations tax pool, which is not, all of our revenues are not coming from accommodations tax. It's about 9% of our accommodations tax revenues, and that's what we're looking at here. Because not all of our expenditures, we have grant funds, we have private revenues, and so the revenues and expenditures we're talking about from this particular list of expenses are accommodations tax eligible expenditures, because we know that's what you all want to see.
Thank you.
that's
Yeah,
good
thank you.
perspective. Thank you for that, yeah. Margaret, Rod, Chrissy, any?
I think they're doing a great
Yeah.
job.
I've got one. I'm a newbie, okay, so pardon me. You said ATAX approved expenditures.
Eligible.
Is headcount and salaries not approved? I mean, when I look down your spreadsheet, you guys are doing a ton of great stuff, but it comes with a cost and a person. I want to see, I need line of sight, or I want line of sight to what that looks like. Or do you have some sort of hourly skill set baked into, I'm just making this up, marketing support or group sales? How do you, I'm not actually asking what it cost you as much as I'm saying, how do we get better line of sight as to some of these groupings? When I scroll down, I just noticed that, I get that T&E is not in there, that it can be trade show, but people, right? What's that expense? Is that an acceptable ATAX line item?
Well, it's not something that's been addressed by the Turk Committee. I will tell you that. But we can't do what we do if we don't have the people to do it.
Right.
And I don't know how else to address that, but to say you can go to our 990, I could say that. I mean, we're not going to call it out here specifically, and we don't address anything on here salary-wise. There are no salaries accounted for here. These are all hard line item expenditures.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we have a shared employee, and is she still
Oh, well, that's a very good point. You do have
available?
a shared
'Cause
employee
we do have
on
a
here.
shared employee that we pay half the salary, but I never have not had any communication. Have you had much?
With her?
Yes.
No.
Chandra, yeah, Chandra is an Alapalms employee, yes, and we
What does she
do.
do, and who does she report to? Does she report to CVB,
No,
or does she
Chandra
report to?
Chandra is an Alapalms employee, and we fund 45% of the cost of her employment.
So our money goes to you guys and you guys pay. If the 45% is still our money, or still ATAX money.
And Deborah sends us a bill, and then we we pay y'all back. It's a big cycle.
But who does she report to? Does she, because she's half the Alapalms employee, especially with the CVB ATAX committee, does she not need to talk with our chairman or
She is an
someone?
employee of the Alapalms.
Yeah, so she reports to me.
Yeah.
Pretty much day in and day out. She does spend a day or two at the CVB offices.
A
When
month.
she's there.
A month.
I'm sorry, did I say a week? Did I say a
You
week?
didn't say it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just a day or two.
Once a year, we see it.
Yeah. So she occasionally is there, and she has the support of that staff while she's there. I'm not positive exactly who she's reporting to when she's there, but the vast majority of her time, she's in our offices reporting to me, she does the website promotion, she does all of the newsletters, kind of any internal public communication for the city, she's doing that.
Now, I want to ask a question. She hasn't, up until, a year or two ago, we never had a person that we split with CVB. Is this person necessary? I mean, that's a question I have.
I think from the city's perspective, and a lot of what we heard, a lot of feedback from the community to the city staff was a lack of communication to the community. And from my personal perspective, she is doing a tremendous job in ramping that up. Sunny is all her, the kind of, interactive public feedback loop, that's all managed by her. So from our perspective, yes, she is doing a critical job of just public information, getting it out in a, during.
And it was not done before.
That was never done before. That is a new role of the city that has never been done prior to her being here.
So you could really look at this as the CVB is partly financing the cost of the city to have this employee, not unlike other ATAX money that's financing part of a fire truck or the equipment. It's not that she's splitting her duties with CVB. It's just they're paying, and it is a symbiotic relationship. Her kind of work is needs probably to touch base with CVB.
Her work with us is on Isle of Palm specific
Right.
projects. So, I mean,
Programmatically,
It's just like she's out of the office 1 or 2 days a month.
yes, and we're working on the photography, the videography, all the other things that are related to y'all, so y'all have a ready staff person that's able to speak to the needs of Isle of Palms.
she's been very connected to the community enrichment plan process, and has also taken a big role with the walkability study, which is part of this upcoming budget. So sometimes it's more project-based, I would say. Again,
Yep.
we,
Does her salary come out of the 30%, or this is as half of it is an additional cost to the city?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
I believe, if I remember correctly, we made the suggestion to get her,
Yeah.
and we hired her.
Yeah, that
Like
was
2
a-
years ago,
Right.
to be a liaison. That was us.
I think it's fair to make sure people understand and question or whatever else, but I do think that it's it's a valuable position. And I think it's just an interesting sort of, I don't know if it's circular or triangular, the way that it works, but I think it's a beneficial position for the group. And we just have to trust that, that we're not in the job of managing her day to day. We're in the job of managing the costs. And so we fund 45% of her salary is what it boils
Right.
down to.
That's correct.
And so that's where the value proposition would be ultimately.
So Lori, I guess to Rod's question, and I don't know the line here, but there is a public relations staff
see it.
line.
Yes, there is, you're right. It's the
371,000.
35,000. In that first, under 100% Isle of Palms, under public relations staffing, it's the 35,000 that I've reflected. Can you see?
And that is
That's
Chandra
Chandra,
specifically.
our
Okay.
share of
Yeah,
Chandra's cost.
gotcha.
I have one more question. I think it's page 9. I'm scrolling up. Visitor services, call centers, chat centers went from 125,000 to 4,000.
Yes.
What was all the others, whether they went up or down, I can kind of make sense of that one. Was it just a failed attempt or reallocating monies or? Well, hey, you try things, they don't work. I mean,
Yeah.
I see a chat and I'm like, well, the chat didn't work.
No,
But-
I'll tell you, we went through several iterations with various accommodations tax committees on how to make this process fair. And we started with allocations and wound up with this share of inventory that we currently have. And when we do this, we wind up at the end of the process with essentially this mixture. If we don't reflect that 4,000 at the end, it makes it look like we're spending way more money than we are on you. So we didn't want to reflect some $120,000 in visitor services and it kind of throw off this allocation.
So is it a new way of budgeting at the line item level that you didn't have last year?
Essentially it is.
Okay, so it's based on the 4% or the 9% or the 8% or wherever Isle of Palms percentage is.
Essentially.
And the
If-
125 was not based on that.
Right. If we kept that same formula, it was going to skew the amount that we budgeted that Deborah and I both agreed looking forward was the 1 million. If we kept the formula the same in visitor services, it was going to take the 1 million to like 1.3 million. And I didn't think it was
Okay.
fair to say, well, we're going to be spending 1.3 million on you. I mean, it didn't look right. So we felt like we should just say, we're still going to promote y'all through our visitor centers. We're still
Sure.
going to talk about Isle of Palms when people call in. We just felt like that was the place to make that reflection.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you for asking.
Chrissy, anything you're?
Just curious, the
On page 10, you have the 100% funded IOP. And we have the signage, the Hope, Love, Joy
Yes,
at 45. That the big signs?
yes.
Is that for this coming year or last year?
This budget's for the new year,
New year, okay.
July 1.
So we're gonna get one of those signs here?
Yes. And y'all have had one. This will be
Oh,
year
we have?
3. Yes, we worked with Douglas and team and have had it down on the turn by the park.
Oh, by
Okay.
the turtles,
Yes.
Okay.
Right, Douglas?
Yes, that's correct.
So
Adjacent to the
This will
park.
be year 3.
Okay.
And it's a
Good.
big, each year that promotion of the signs and helping visitors get out
Mm-hmm.
across the community and during off-season is a key focus for the holiday
Yeah,
season.
I like those signs.
Yeah.
any other questions? Cool. Thank you.
We appreciate y'all having us back today.
Of course.
As you know, and at your next meeting, the same exact time, we'll be at Kiowa. So, Chris and I, if we need to, we'll split duties.
Well, I think today's that we'll be making the recommendation to the council, so that piece of it will be over, then it'll be up to you guys to deal with the council. But you guys
Okay.
are, I mean, from my perspective, they're welcome at any meeting and should be, y'all, we would encourage you to come to our meetings, but it won't be so intensely focused on you all.
Yeah, well, we're happy to split duties and come back again, but I
Right.
just wanted to be
No, I
fully
understand.
transparent about what we had going on same day and time
Yep.
for your next meeting.
That's fine, that's perfectly fine,
Park,
we understand.
just a comment, not related to any of this, but related to us in general. There was something on the news that airplane reservations from Canada to America is down 75%, which obviously we have a lot of Canadians who come here.
Air Canada hasn't canceled a flight yet, though, have they?
There we go.
Not yet.
There's nobody on it.
They have canceled other.
Oh, okay.
Our service has not been disrupted.
Okay.
Yeah,
Scary.
it's, I hesitate to go here because it could change, right? But I will say, as it stands today, the service continues, our service with Air Canada. Hopefully you saw over the weekend, we also launched service with our second, no pun intended, our second international destination with Bermuda. But at this time, we're fortunate that our Air Canada service remains as it was intended to be in this second season. And we're constantly looking at any signs that the macroeconomic headwinds, if you will, whether that be related to economic uncertainty, federal policy, et cetera, how that might be showing up in our market performance. To this point, we haven't seen major changes. The reality is we're not as exposed to international as I think I shared at the last meeting. We certainly do have some, and Canada is the number one country of origin for our international visitors. So we're not ignoring it by any stretch. It's just, unfortunately, sometimes that also takes a while to show up in
It's
the
a
numbers.
lagging indicator, yeah.
The first quarter had a lot of noise in it, I would say, as well. When we're looking at our hotel numbers, we just updated that yesterday. Hotels dealt with the storm, not only just the storm in January, but all that winter weather in January and other parts of the Southeast prevented people from getting here. So it was really multiple weeks that were impacted. February, believe it or not, one extra day in leap year versus this year makes the difference of about 13,000 or more hotel room nights. That doesn't even count vacation rentals. So one day can skew that much for a market of our size. And then in March, so we went for the trifecta, right? With Easter moving from March to April again. Last year you had a lot of spring break travel showing up in March. This year it's more in April. So the year-over-year comparisons are very skewed at this point. And so we've got that going against us. I just offer that because, we talk a lot, Park, and I love the conversations about what are we seeing, and we want to keep those conversations going with the finance teams and all the administrative staffs and councils and folks like yourselves, members, because we know that's got to be top of mind as well. We usually can lean more on year over year. That's a long way of saying it's just not as indicative or reflective of perhaps the reality of the situation this year because of those
one-offs, if you will, some of that noise. April has started very strong. That's the good news. April has looked really good in the first couple weeks, which we would hope would, because things, again, shifted back, more spring breaks, great weather, et cetera.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Any other questions, comments, discussion?
Parker, any comments?
All right.
Oh, I do have, I was just thinking of, being a member of the CVB, we get an email every week. You know how it says all the media mentions and stuff, and I don't know if they can get that, because I think that might help everybody see where Isle of Palms or Charleston was mentioned every week and what publication and where. I find that helpful.
Is that something you'd like to have?
I think she's referring to a weekly newsletter, and I think that is a
Weekly newsletter to our membership, which we refer to as Travel Council, and it's called the CVB Weekly. What do you name it?
Creative, yeah.
Internally, it's called CVB Weekly, at least.
We waste all our creativity.
So that is not how we approach all marketing
good.
efforts. No, walked right into that one. So we would be happy to share, or hopefully we've got Douglas on there, and we're happy to include others if you're interested.
As long as y'all are comfortable sharing it, there's no privileged information, then I think
No,
that's.
no,
yeah,
it's,
okay.
and what she's referring to is, you'll see other things in there.
Yeah.
You'll see some announcements for members about things to sign up for, marketing initiatives, et cetera. There's usually a little intro paragraph or two, maybe if there's an event upcoming or something that we want to draw people's attention to. So that will change weekly. You'll also see some of our education. I think this could be great, because you'll see what we're doing in the education space, which is available to all of our members. And so that's the Hospitality Academy. Our sales team will talk about active leads they're working on. And then at the end, because it's the longest section, is where we call media leads. So that's all the mentions from the week, and that would be a municipality or county in some instances, as well as any members that were mentioned in any of the earned media.
It's very important.
Yeah, that sounds great.
We'll make
Thank
sure
y'all.
we get
That's
you
great. Thank you, Chrissy.
Yeah.
We want to make a motion to recommend the CVB budget as presented.
I so moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Wide open, but any, I guess we could call it maybe new business, miscellaneous, anything from the committee that we need to bring to attention?
As it's already been mentioned, we would anticipate you all considering the three requests at your May 14th meeting. That's the only thing that we
Right.
have to report back to you all.
Thank you, Douglas. And so that would just require us to take some time individually to review those grants one more time. If there's things that we need to ask, let's bring those to the city's attention prior to that, so we can basically have a discussion and an up or a down or partial vote, partial funding vote on the 14th.
So you want us to bring concerns we might have about the grants, or just more information we need?
If
Because
you
we need to
need, if there's
discuss
something
it.
that we need to get for you, let us know that, but any deliberation of the merits of the
Right.
request, you
Waits
will
for the meeting.
save that for the meeting and have that deliberation at the meeting.
Yeah.
Great.
But we're happy to email all of those